Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a voiceover presentation about my research topic that we've been doing this semester, and I chose future directions of metacognitive therapy in the treatment of eating disorders among individuals with OCD. So before we get into the research itself, I wanted to establish a few key terms that I think will make my topic easier to understand and follow along with. The first being metacognition. So when we're talking about metacognition, essentially it's thinking about thinking, or how we think about our own thoughts. And this includes the structures, content, and processes involved in 3 different actions that you can take towards those thoughts. So the first would be monitoring, so being self-aware of your thoughts. The second, appraising, which means looking at the value or quality of your thoughts. And then lastly, controlling these thoughts. And this can include mechanisms that either attempt to inhibit the thought itself or further elaborate on the thought and potentially leading to acting on the content of what you're thinking. The next key term is OCD, also known as obsessive compulsive disorder, and simplified pretty much down to its core, it's uncontrollable thoughts that can lead to compulsions to relieve or suppress those thoughts. And then lastly, we have EDs, which stands for eating disorders, and eating disorders quantify quite a large profile of different symptoms like restricting or binging, body checking. Other examples could be over-exercising or even being extremely picky in your eating, which we see in orthorexia, can be subjected to also having an eating disorder. So for the purpose of my study, I was looking at the comorbidity of eating disorders and OCD and why metacognitive therapy would be an effective treatment for a patient exhibiting symptoms from both disorders. And so some overlapping symptomatology that we see are, and all 3 of these are on metacognitive dimensions. The first being uncontrollability and danger of thought. The second, lack of confidence in metacognition. And the third, which is a result of symptom 1 and 2, is a negative feedback loop. Really brief, a negative feedback loop is when the content of the thought that you're struggling with is so strong and you're trying to either inhibit the thought or inhibit the action that could coexist with the thought, that the obsession of trying to do so in turn makes the thought more intense, which is negatively feeding. So when someone's trying to diminish the thought, really what they're doing by obsessing over it is making it stronger, which is why it's called a negative feedback loop. Here we see deficits in metacognition. So along with the symptomatology that I just discussed, problem areas in metacognition could be emotion dysregulation, so not being able to cope healthily with your emotions, and negative thinking, which creates that spiraling effect. So why is metacognitive therapy an effective treatment for both disorders? Metacognitive therapy as a whole, it doesn't focus on the content of what you're thinking, but rather the processes that are behind the thoughts. And so this can provide comfort of knowing that you yourself are not your thoughts, but you yourself, you have control over the actions towards those thoughts. In attempts to further a better relationship with your thinking, this can also create a cognitive shift in perspective of how you view your own thinking. Finally, coming to an end, what are future directions in regards to metacognitive therapy? And what I could not stress enough is that we just need more implementation of this type of treatment in a clinical setting among psychologists and therapists, because although the research is limited and I would like to see studies over a longer period of time, utilizing a longer duration post follow-up, it does have a high effectiveness among both disorders. And I think there's a very positive perspective for this type of treatment, and there's more to be seen in the future.